Welcome back to the TD9 podcast, man. It's been a long time. Glad to get back with you guys. I'm excited. You know what? Who else is excited that TD9 is back?
You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruptions.
Marching trying to show that they're like they represent Orlando or like they represent Florida. They don't.
Will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised. The revolution will be no rerun, brothers. The revolution will be live.
Grand Rising Free Thinkers, this is the TD9 podcast, and as usual, I'm your host, Ted Davis. You know, I got my boy Jay beside me, and today we got a special guest. We have Derrian from Ma'at Sankofa, correct?
That is correct.
Most def. Alright, so today we are looking back, right? We looking back into our history as black people or Afro-Americans, and we're looking back for truth, right?
That's what we want to do.
Most def. So tell us about Ma'at Sankofa.
Alright, so like I was saying earlier, Ma'at Sankofa is an organization that was started by my grandmother 3 years ago. 3 years ago, she decided that, you know, she had a dream that we were in a state of like starvation. Like she didn't know what to do, what to say, but in her dream, and this is all paraphrasing. You have to ask her for the real story. But in her dream, you know, she had a calling, and then she's like, "What do I do? The people are starving for knowledge, but what am I supposed to do? You know, I'm just me, you know." And years down the line, possibly, we met with Candy Lowe, who does the Black Business Bus Tours. So my grandmother got the idea, like, hey, you know, what if we, instead of the children going to school, what if we bring the school to them?
Right.
And then that idea of the school bus and painted it golden, you know, it's like it came to her and she brought it to us, and we're like, yeah, we're definitely gonna try and make this thing happen.
Okay.
You said black business tours. What are you like stopping at different black businesses?
Exactly. They do that down in Tampa. It's Candy Lowe.
Okay, is it like a tourist thing? They bring.
Yeah. So all the black vendors, they host what do they call it? It's like a flea market kind of thing.
Okay.
Different type of black businesses at a certain area, and then people pay to get on the bus that actually goes to like brick and mortars of other black businesses around Tampa.
Oh, word.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You guys should definitely check
dope.
it out.
Yeah, that definitely sounds dope.
Yeah, so my grandmother got the idea from her, but just instead of, you know, going around being a bunch of consumers, which is good, you know, for our people, but bringing education,
right.
on the school bus. So
when you say like education,
that's what I was about to do.
What is it exactly that we're being educated on, or what knowledge is it that we lack?
So that's a good question. So our main focus is history, right? Because with history, it encompasses so much knowledge in that history. You can talk about the history of your religion, the history of your culture, just learning stuff from the past and bringing it to the future.
Right.
So that's what we're starting to teach is his history, and then once that catches on, you know, you start feeling, you know, just getting the identity for yourself through the curriculum that we're going to teach, which is basically a code of ethics, you can say. Like teaching about how we used to have rites of passages, you know, growing up. You didn't just go from teenager to 18, now you're a man. No, there was things you had to go through, rules you had to abide by. You had to show up, you know, to be considered a man.
Right.
And so it's things like that that we need to start learning more about. So we're trying to bring that awareness to the forefront, because we ain't got it. Right. Every other culture got it. You know, if you're Jewish, you got a bar mitzvah.
Right.
You know, if you're Hispanic, you got a quinceañera.
Right.
You know, and those things are important. Like they're real milestones that make you feel good about yourself as a person, and also gives you something like to look forward to, like some sort of structure, which is like another thing that we lack. So history is number one, like learning about who you are, where you come from, and then going even deeper, finding out exactly who you are personally. You know, just trying to bridge that gap between the past and now to bring that connection together.
Right. Where would you like pull these milestones from? Is something like you've experienced in the past, or you're taking it from like another culture? So we're in Africa, somewhere in Europe. You know, like where you come up with the ideas for the different milestones.
So you can go back and look back in our history. You know, I haven't read a ton of books to know exactly what they've done, but if you go back, you can see evidence that these people weren't just, you know, living off of just willy-nilly everyday things. Like they had a specific structure, they had hierarchies too, along where you can learn stuff and learn the exact things that it takes to be, you know, I guess you could say like a top human being, like the most holiest of holy. Like you can go through the school and be taught how to live that way. But I don't necessarily know exactly what that is. That's why they were called the mystery schools back then. It's something you got to study about.
I was just wondering, like, when you start building that business, like, what were you going to be teaching? Like are you giving an example of the quinceañeras and different stuff like that? I want to know, like, have you guys come up with some ideas yet of like rites of passage for people?
No, we haven't. That's something that we feel like it needs to be discussed. I feel like I should say the ultimate goal is to build a Black Board of Education full of, you know, professionals and you know, prolific people in our community, like our scholars, so they would be the ones to bring that, you know, rites of passage to us. They would be like the experts of, you do this thing and it makes a person feel this type of way, and they feel the pride and honor of their ancestors or their culture, or et cetera, et cetera. For now, though, we're teaching basic ethic principles, which is the 7 principles of Ma'at. I know there's 42 that we discussed earlier, but there's 7 core principles, which is truth, justice, balance, harmony, order, reciprocity, and the last one we like to say is righteousness. Yeah, so those are the principles that we're teaching as just a basis. You know, to hopefully get people into like, oh, this is something that we were doing back then. This is ours. You know, this wasn't something that's been taken from the tablets on the walls and written down by different people and then given to us in some sort of book. You know, so it's something that was actually FUBU for us, by us, you know?
Right. Okay. So, what, like, for those particular 7 principles, what made you guys decide to choose those out of, like we mentioned, the whole 42?
So, when we say 42, they're not actually 42 principles. So, what those are 42 like covenants. So those are like you can say affirmations, like things that you can tell yourself. Like I have not stolen, I have not laid with another man's wife. You know, you declare these things, and as the truth. And every day you just declare 42 I guess you can call them laws, but like I said, they're pretty much declarations. So and the closer you live to those 42, you know, the closer to whatever you want to believe. You know, like. You're that human being, you know. You're a good human being. You're the standard, you should say. But the 7 principles, those are just core principles that you can keep in your mind every single day. Like it's easy to remember 7. You know, it's easy to know. Like if I tell the truth, good. Not saying good things will happen, because good and bad it's all, you know, subjective. Something could be good to somebody and bad to somebody else. But ultimately, if I tell the truth, it's a good thing because it's relative. You know, it's something that's not just in me. It's something that somebody else can also see and agree with.
And it'll make you a trustworthy.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we can trust each other. Like he says the right things, and what he says is true. Like the sky is blue outside. For sure, we can both agree with that. And then, you know, the rest of the principles are just things that we can think of on a daily basis to like help guide us to be a more ethical person, I guess you can say. You know, we we wouldn't be doing half the things that we would do. We do as I don't want to say everybody's a part of this, but as a generic kind of explanation of who we are as people. You know, we're gangbangers, and you know, of course I don't believe this, but you know, the stereotype, we're these bad things. But if we grew up knowing these principles, you know, and we know to abide by these principles, we wouldn't be in this position that we're in, because it would be known that, you know, we tell the truth. We justice for all, and when we say justice, it's not just legal justice. There's different forms of justice: social justice, you know, distributive justice. We teach all these things here, but you hold all those principles inside you, and you get a certain feeling, you know, that you're a good person because you follow 7 simple principles each day, and you know that the other person is following those 7 principles as well. So we get that collective spirit going on.
Okay. So I'm curious, like, what was your aha moment, or your, for lack of a better choice of words, come to Jesus moment that made you decide that this was the path that you wanted to take, and what led up to that?
So I would say anger. You know, anger, when I first learned that there was a different way to think about things other than, you know, being a Christian. Because, you know, growing up, we went to church, we were forced to go to church. I had a good time there, loved the music, loved the fellowship, but when it came to the word, it was like, it's kind of contradicting, I would say, you know, like the way people would be in church, and then the next day, you know, they're wilding. And to me, I always felt like religion should be something that is taken very, very seriously. And so fast forward 2016, you know, all those shootings are going on, and it's just wild to me being a black man, like seeing how we're treated and just put on the news, and like, it was crazy. I just couldn't believe it. And so I listened to Ray Hagen's. He put my grandmother put me on to Ray Hagen's, and she actually was the one to like tell the story of how Christianity came to be, and then like made it acceptable. Like, you know, just, at least to me, it was like, it's okay to not believe in Christianity. It's okay to call out, you know, the things that aren't, you know, conducive with the truth. You know, and it's okay. And then there's other things that you can learn in place of Christianity. And so when he said that, I was like, you know, that's really good to know. And then you take the other side of where Christianity came from and how a group of people used it against another specific group of people, which happen to be the same people that I affiliate with. And you just get so angry. You're like, yo, they're using this great thing to do some very evil things, and it's working. It's been working for a very long time. Right. You know, and so when are we gonna change? When are we gonna wake up? When are we all gonna wake up, have that come to Jesus moment, and wake up and be like, all right, this stuff doesn't really make sense, and it's okay because it was created by somebody else. Some people call it by our oppressors. You know, they didn't really create it, but they stole it and used the best parts of it to like hook us, and then add whatever they want to add into it. So it's God's word now. We just gotta follow it blindly. So it was just that, just the anger of what a group of people did to another group of people, and I fall into that category of that group of people that I guess fell for the trap.
Okay. You know, I'm curious on what do you think about the Ethiopians in Africa who are Jews or Hebrews, I should say?
Well, not just them, because you also have like the Ethiopian Christians that far outdate by like 1,000 years, like any Christian denomination or group that has ever touched Europe or America or anything that we call Western civilization.
I would ask, is that what they call themselves? Like they call it Christian or the Christians?
Ethiopian Christians.
But the Ethiopian Bible is also older than any European Bible. So I was curious on like how would you look at that one? Like, do you feel like that's a positive move for their people?
I would agree. I would ask who's the author. I would have to look at the book. You know, like who wrote this Word of God? You know, is it some other white man like we got? You know, King James. That's. I'm sorry. I don't really follow the Bible that much. I guess I should. I want to read it eventually, but as far as I know, the author is King James, right?
So he had it translated into English on what's the word I'm looking for? A broad scope.
Right.
But that was not like the first, because before the King James Bible, you had something known as the Geneva Bible, which was, how to put it, the English language of the Geneva Bible is a whole lot more tricky than the thou art of the King James Bible. And so that's why it kind of became like a somewhat necessary for King James to create that particular edition.
Right. So, and again, I believe that all of these stories come from one source, you know, and that's back in Africa, you know, probably Ethiopia or Egypt, or I'm not sure which one of the two, but they all translated and transcribed that one source of story, right? So we go down the list of, you know, the Quran, the Geneva Bible, and then today we got the King James, right? That's where we're at, King James. So I would want to know, you know, whose this version of the Bible is, because as you said, you know, they had to. King James didn't really write it, of course, but he basically approved it. They brought it to him and he was like, yeah, okay, put my name on this. This is my Bible. So whoever the writers are of that Ethiopian Bible, I would want to know and know the contents of what it is, because if it's a black or an Ethiopian,
on their pictures they have like Jesus, and he's like, and also the people around him, they have brown skin. So I believe it was written by their ancestors. They believe that they are actually part of the tribe of Israel. They still claim to it. And there's some parts in Africa, I don't know where they say they have the Ark of the Covenant. I don't know, but they guarding something in there. So
now there is a slight difference between like the Ethiopian Jews and the orthodoxical Ethiopian Christian church, in the sense that the Ethiopian Jews are more so like the Orthodox Jews that you have currently over there in Israel. So they only acknowledge the Torah. They don't have anything to do with the New Testament. And so by extension, they also don't believe that Jesus is the Messiah. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to the Ethiopian church, they are the church, so they are Christians. The only thing with them is, unlike say the King James Bible that has 66 books, the Catholic Bible that has like 72 books, the Ethiopian Bible has 88 books. You know what I'm saying? And for whatever reason, they acknowledge certain authors that other Christian sects do not acknowledge. Now, the reason behind it, I'm not too sure on that. That's something that I've honestly been trying to figure out myself. You know, but yeah, that's like one of those big differences. And the only reason I brought that up is because the language that we're using is kind of fluctuating back between Ethiopian Jew and the Ethiopian church, and the two are completely different. You know. But but so taking it back to
I was gonna say tangents are fine, but
but like taking it back to like Ma'at Sankofa, we covered the 7 core principles that you guys
some of them.
teach.
Yeah.
And we got into a little bit of your history and what first ignited that fire for you to want to study this. What's your current state with it, and what direction are you guys looking to go as far as Ma'at Sankofa? Is it just one bus that you want to be driving around in Tampa, or are you guys looking to eventually like open up like an actual school?
Yeah, how do you want to expand?
Absolutely we want to expand. You know, the plan is to start with the one bus, you know, get the word out, let the bus go around Tampa, and people find out, hey, that's that golden school bus, Ma'at Sankofa. You know, teach, you know, an incredible program, and then turn into a fleet of buses that can go around and expand out of the Tampa area, come out to Lakeland, go out to Orlando, and eventually turn into a brick and mortar. And the ultimate goal is to create that Black Board of Education to where we're in control of our own children's education, because that's basically our future, you know, our children. That's, if you want to take over a nation, you start with the children. You know, you got to teach the children the right way to you know, be a decent human being. And so once we establish that Black Board of Education, I think that we'll be in that position to have a huge shift in our culture and the way we see each other, the way the world sees us.
Right. Okay, so to me, you guys kind of seem like you're on the same wave as Dr. Umar Johnson with the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy that he's trying to open up. That's for like the Pan-African children, right? Now, I know with him, because like you said, with the Board of Education and stuff like that, there's certain hurdles that you guys are gonna have to cross. Would it be exclusively for people of the Afro-American diaspora, or would it be open to any who would seek to want to gain that knowledge?
It would definitely be for everyone, because if you look back in history, everybody came to us for the education of how to run a civilization. That's how it was before.
Right.
Like you came to Africa to learn how to be a decent human being. You came to Africa to learn how to do these complex things in agriculture and building things.
Yeah, like when it comes to like medicine and stuff like that, you look to like Imhotep. When you think about civilization and basically how to run that, the mystery schools and whatnot, you think about Timbuktu and who was the great philosopher? Was it Socrates? That was alleged to have gone to Timbuktu to get his education.
Yeah, he did go.
So that was Socrates. Okay.
Yeah, he did go there to get his education and, you know, brought it back to his people. It's funny too, because when he went back to his people, they was like, "You're not teaching this stuff over here, bro." They exiled him. They kicked him out. You're not about to teach people this. But yeah, he did. That's where he learned all his, you know, great philosophies, I guess.
And then all these centuries later, we remember him as not one of, but the greatest philosopher of all time.
Yeah. Apparently, you know, you go to learn something, you the man now.
Yeah.
You learned it from somebody else, but you the man now. It's you.
Yeah.
You brought it to the world.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely. So I think with us, you know, just being the organization that we are, with time people seeing Ma'at Sankofa and going to get the lessons and teaching learning the things that we teach, and, you know, just not just accepting it, but obviously doing their own research and getting in tune with themselves, you know, falling in love with who they are, then we'll gain that trust, and then eventually people will, you know, start to look back at us to see, like, how did you guys do this? You know, let us get involved. You know, we want our kids to be just model citizens, no matter what, because anything we're teaching is not teaching like to hate anybody. This is just principles for yourself, you know, to be good to yourself for everybody else.
Okay.
You know?
What does Ma'at Sankofa mean?
So Ma'at, she's a the goddess of many things, but for the sake of our name, we chose the two principles of truth and justice. Mainly the truth. So Ma'at is goddess of truth. Sankofa means to look back. So with the name put together is
Okay, gotcha.
to look
Looking
back for the truth.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah. See, I'm glad you asked that question, because for a second, I was actually thinking, like, why didn't you guys align yourselves with Thoth instead, considering he was like
I like saying
He was like
Thoth.
he was a scribe,
like he was a scribe of knowledge and stuff.
Yeah.
But like in Egyptian like mythology, then they always say like Thoth was like the god of knowledge.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Mhm.
Thoth. This is the name. You know, thought. You know, the mind. Yeah, the god of that. And if we look back, you know, that I think that could be a really good thing for us. Like how Greeks had, like they had adonished their gods. You know, our weekdays are named after them. You know.
Yeah.
If we actually knew and believed, like, think about it like this. I always like to think about, like, you remember Hercules growing up? Could you imagine like a black Hercules, but it has the Egyptian gods and goddesses?
Yo, there is actually a show.
Yeah.
It's like a
Is it a comic?
Yeah,
No, it's an anime.
It's like a black anime, but it's also like a comic. It's called
Something Sands.
I
Is it
think
Black
it's called
Sands?
Black Sands, yeah. And so they have all those comedic figures. So they have Thoth, they have Tahuti, they have Asar, they have Aset, they have Haru and stuff like that, and like the different adventures that they're going on as they grow into their deity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, that definitely. Hey, shout out to, what is it called?
Black Sands.
Black Sands, man. Oh, man, they need to promote that a little bit more. I definitely gotta check
Bro,
it out.
it's fire.
I haven't seen it.
It's fire.
And see,
It's on YouTube. Look it up. Black Sands on
definitely
YouTube.
gotta check that one out, because and imagine us getting that as little kids. You know,
Yeah.
it's that not a Disney movie, but like the effect of a Disney movie.
Yeah.
Like every kid watches it now.
Yeah.
They know.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's us.
Like
Oh.
the effect that we had from Black Panther.
Right.
I feel that. I feel that.
So yeah, I get excited thinking about that, man. Like, God, these guys were amazing. Like, they amazing, and the story behind them is, you know, they're supposed to be 99 of them, right? And then there's 99 elements. So all of these gods, the premise is like all of these gods need to work together, doing exactly what they need to do to create the world that's around us today. Like constantly, can't stop. So that's another thing we should probably check into, is seeing how the gods correlate to the 99 elements.
Okay. Yeah, I'd actually never heard of that. So yeah, that is something to look into.
Does Ma'at Sankofa give a religious perspective as well?
So we try and stay away from calling it a religion, only because that word is so finicky. A lot of people don't really know. Like, if you say religion, it's automatically Christianity. You know, like, at least with us, like, everything else is just the devil. You know, so we kind of stay away from it like that, and just tell them, hey, this is information you can verify yourself. You know, you can look this up yourself, and you make your own judgment. The only thing we're trying to teach is ethics. You don't need religion to be an ethical person. You know, I don't need God or anything to tell me what's good and bad, what's right and wrong. You know, I know not to do anything to anybody that I wouldn't want them to do to me. Simple as that.
So under that train of thought, though, why do you guys like refer to like these deities as gods, if on that same vein you don't necessarily believe that you need God per se in order to tell you how to be an upright person?
You can have like your own sorts of sense of belief. Yeah, but it's not bad to have like these allegorical, you know, stories.
Right.
So, you know, you can tell these stories and you can gather meaning from them without necessarily having like association with them. Like they could be gods, they could be they could be whatever.
Right.
You know, their story is what's important.
Right.
You know, so
I figure you're looking at it like they're saying some like Egyptian interpretations of it is like they were forces of nature. So you take it more as like it's not literal, but as in like those type of stories.
Right. Something that you can just relate to.
Right.
You know, so it helps. You know,
I understand.
You gotta kind of be like, you know, in reality, like, okay, we're in the real world, but at the same time, you know, there's a lot more information like out there or in people's heads, you know, that could be validated as well.
Okay.
You know, so
I get that, because that's a lot closer perspective to like you were mentioning, like the ancient Greeks and the Romans. Like, even though they had their pantheon of deities and stuff like that, and they did attribute them like more or less to different elements and stuff like that, a lot of those stories truly, like at their core, had to do with like the life lesson from what these imaginated creatures or people went through, type thing. So I get that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you personally feel that looking at like the Egyptian morals, laws, and allegories, you think they like meld better with the people compared to like other people's stories? Like, let's say, like if you came to them with, you know, Hinduism or Buddhism or Christianity or Islam, why do you think people gravitate towards, you know, what you guys are teaching?
So we haven't gotten that far yet to actually get any like real evidence of what it is, but at least for me personally, I like things that are like straightforward. And from what I understand, what these people believe is pretty straightforward. You know, they're like the 42 covenants. I have not stolen. I have not slept with another man's wife. There's many more, but you know, that's easier for me to follow rather than something as ambiguous as like sin. You know, like that's a complex thing for me. Like, because if you look up the definition of sin, it's like it only exists if you believe in the Christian mindset. You know, it's not like it's only a rule against Christianity. If I'm not mistaken, the last time I looked it up, it specifically has to deal with religion.
Is there a name for, I gotta put it,
wrongdoing?
For wrongdoing.
Moral.
Yeah. More negatives, or however you want to put it. Yeah.
Not that I know of. So I haven't done like a lot of digging into it, like to know like exactly what's going on, because like I said, these were secrets that you had to go through years and years of training and just a lot of studying to actually know what's going on. So on just based on the surface level of things that we have today, the information that we have today, it's just a lot easier for me to follow, you know. But I don't know if there's a word for like, oh, you didn't do this, so now you're
like, what's
you're this person now.
You're equivalent to sin on your end.
Yeah. So then I would wonder, like, what would be the consequence to someone under like the Kemetic teaching?
I was gonna get on that because they weigh your heart. You know,
your heart
it's
is
a feather.
the feather of Ma'at, by the way.
So it's like, are you saying it would be the flip of those? So if you say I have not stolen, you have stolen.
Right.
Would you like to probably look at it that way?
Right. So with what you said, when they weigh your heart, you know, I guess your good deeds and your covenants, like if you have stolen, you know, that's gonna make your heart weigh a lot more than that feather. So, you know, they say if it doesn't equal out, then, you know, that alligator head dog, he eats your heart, and you gotta go. Yeah, you gotta go in the underworld. You know, who knows what that's about? But if you do pass, then you get to go into the heavens with Anubis. You know, or whatever the guy's name is.
So then I wonder, like, for you, do you look at that again as like that allegorical thing in the sense that when you do wrong in this world and your heart is like metaphorically weighed against the feather, you become more of a, what's the word I'm looking for? A negative type of human being. Like you're more prone to negative thoughts. You're more prone to negative impulses, actions, your speech and stuff like that. Is that more so like where you guys are coming from with that?
Yeah, I would say that to an extent. At least for me personally, like I wouldn't take it as like, hey, now if I did a negative thing, like now I'm negatively thinking and all this other stuff. But to me, I would know that. We were talking about dope, you know, like if I'm thinking in an allegorical sense, I'm like, dang, he saw that, he writing that down, like he know.
Right.
So when it comes to my judgment, that's gonna be on there what I did. So, you know, in real time, I would feel like I need to kind of readjust the way I'm living. Like I need to do more good things, more, you know, stick more to my principles of what I know. So if I were to come to my demise today and it was my judgment day, you know, hopefully my heart will, you know, balance out with that feather.
Okay. So when you talk about like your quote unquote judgment day, so then aside from this metaphorical sense of like a paradise or a damnation, do you guys also teach and or do you personally believe in a spiritual paradise or damning place? That like do you guys believe in the soul and stuff like that, in the sense that this
it's
is
probably not
where
something they cover like in the school.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
That's something that we don't cover in the school because, you know, that's a personal thing. That's on a person to decide. Me personally, I do believe in that. Like, yeah, if I had anything to believe, because I don't know. Like, we can believe anything we want. But I like to believe that. Like, if I'm really good in this life and do good things, yeah, there's a paradise waiting for me. If I'm bad, yeah, let me suffer. You know what? I did this to myself, you know. So I personally would agree with that. Just based off of everything else, you know, instead of like the Christian or, you know, you sin or not, if your name ain't on the list at the pearly gates, you know, then you going to hell. Or you did a sin, you going to hell, you know. Unless before your deathbed, you was like, Jesus, I forgive you, or you forgive me, please, let me go to heaven. You know, I think the way that I believe is more conducive to, like, even as a society, you know, being held accountable. It's a better system rather than, you know, you can do a whole bunch of bad things and then just make sure before you die, you know, okay, can I be forgiven? And then, yeah, you're all good.
So you're looking at it more from like a works-based position. Like, the more good you do, then you're expecting that paradise outcome type of thing. And it's like, even if you do slip up and you do some bad, you can always right that wrong with the good that you do.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And like I said, I think that would be better for, you know, people in reality. Because, you know, if you're just a Christian, you did somebody wrong, you know, you can leave it right there and then, you know, pray to Jesus and that's it. But with what I believe, like, you make it right with that person, you know, so now you both are on like a equal understanding of each other,
right?
Instead of so much of a disconnect.
Okay,
I understand. I understand it's about like changing the culture in the long run. What I want to know, like, if let's say you expand, you're teaching a lot of black people this information, right? And you're teaching them, like, let's say the 42 laws or 42 affirmations. Do you think that they're in depth or detailed enough to cover like some of the harder issues, like the more complex, like we're getting to now, not to turn the subject into that, but like abortion issues or certain drug uses, or like, do you think, would it be left to the person, or, you know, do you think there's something that will cover that?
I would hope that, you know, if we do get that popular, we can get a board of professionals who can give the person the most accurate information. Me personally, everybody, you live your own life. If it ain't got nothing to do with, you know, me or any harm to anybody else, you leave it alone. But if the professionals say, like, you know, for example, abortion, like that's, you know, that's bad for you as a person. Or on the flip side, like, if you're afraid of having a baby, maybe we have some kind of program in place where you know, you don't have to abort it. There's different options that are available. this is all fantasy, but I would love for us to be in a position to where we can handle like those complex issues. Like we have systems in place, and it's not such a big deal if somebody decides they don't want to have a baby, or it's more of a a personal thing, and you keep it between you and whoever else needs to know.
Yeah, I was thinking how like a society needs to have like a shared belief to go on something. Like, do you think we would run into issues if we had like if everybody, I don't want to keep calling it like Egyptian mythology, or I'm trying to think how to put it, but yeah. Like if everybody followed those principles, do you think we would still be able to get along when it comes to those complex issues?
I think so. I think we would have a lot fewer disputes, and if so, there's like set systems in place for those disputes. Like if you get out of line, there's not just some prison system waiting for you. Like there's other means of correcting behavior, showing people like, hey, what you're doing is not helping the community. Like, hey, we love you, we don't want to see you do these things, why are you doing these things, can't you see how it's hurting people? So there's other ways that we as a people can come together and decide how things should be run. So I think it would help us all be connected and get along more if we just keep those principles at the forefront of our minds. Like those principles are for you and everybody else.
I was like, what if someone disagrees like with the board, or like how the country's split right now? How do you think you resolve it with that mindset? You know what I mean?
You don't have to join us.
No, not that. I mean, it's in like
let's say everybody is following this particular philosophy, right? Like that's the generalized standard for America,
right?
But with the current political, social divide that we have right now, how could we work that out from that mindset? Is that more or less what you're asking?
Yeah, and I was using the reason I didn't say like the border or like government programs like food stamps and everything, because I was trying to look at it from like a moral point. So like, and that's why I was using abortion, because different people agree on different things. So like, what if like there's a black civilization, half of us want to agree with it, half of us don't agree? What do you think they could be referred back to in order to like know like, okay, this is what should be done, this is what's ethical for society?
So that would go back to like I said, having a system in place, in that hierarchy systems of people who understand these type of things. Back then we had those people who made those decisions. They were typically elders. They typically know what's best. So if anything, I would imagine a system like that where we just consult with the elders.
Okay.
And if they still can't reach an agreement, then depending on what the situation is, like I said, if it's a personal thing, like with one person disagrees with another person or the group, it's like we'll figure out how to handle that. Like not on some like kill them type thing, but we gotta understand them and understand our differences and then go from there. So it's a complex thing. That's a deep question, and like I said, I think about it all the time. It's like I don't know, but I would hope we would have something in place that we can handle opposition in any way and be civil always. Gotcha. Always keep our moral compass pointed north. No matter what the situation is.
Okay.
Well, I wanted to ask about what does your tattoo mean to you? Because it's the Eye of Horus, right?
Right.
Or Eye of Horu.
Right.
Yeah. Because I could look at that and be like, okay, it's the Eye of Horus or whatever. But your tattoos have like a certain meaning to you.
This one, surprisingly, it doesn't. It doesn't. It has the ankh in the middle. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah,
so
that's it.
That's that's why I got it. I really wanted it to be my whole hand, but he played me. He only put it on my wrist. But I only got it just because I got a cross on my arm too when I was when I was 18, before I found out about I was Christian. So I was like, let me just get this just to this is
counter.
Yeah, this is like, all right, this was me before, but now this is me. Like I understand what this means to me. So I guess you can say it's like my mark, like a conversation starter. Like, oh, I see you got that. Oh, like, let's chop it up.
Okay. So, I am curious because, like, when you look at the biggest world religions and stuff like that, or faiths, or ways of belief. Of course, you have Christianity, then you got like Judaism, you have Islam, you have Hinduism, and then Buddhism. I'm curious why it is so often that anytime any other viewpoint or way of life, anytime they have an issue, it's odd that it's always Christianity that they like tend to make like public enemy number one. Like, why do you think that is? Because like even with black people, right? So you said that when you hear the word religion, most black people automatically default to Christianity. But here in America, it's almost just as many like black Christians as there are like black Muslims. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So like, why is it always Christians that's like the problem? Would you like? Do you think?
It was just like you said, you know, that's the general, that's religion. Christianity, that's religion. So a lot of people don't like really dig too deep into the multiple religions and like their meaning. So like I think it's just that general idea, like religion is Christianity here in America. Even me, I don't know much about the Muslim faith or, you know, a lot about them, you know, but I don't have nothing against them either or anything like that. But anytime somebody brings up something about religion, even to me, I'm like, oh, you're talking about some Christian stuff, like this, because that's just a general idea. I don't know why people don't look more into it and you know, get to the meat and potatoes of the story or whatever it is they have an issue with. But I think that's just it. It's just religion is Christianity here in America to like the common person.
Okay. And how deep have you yourself actually looked into it? Like as far as like the history surrounding like Christianity, like whether it's just here in America or like abroad.
So I read books. I read a book a long time ago that basically explained all the religions. And Christianity is the youngest religion here on earth. You know, I know their story, how they put it together at the Council of Nicaea. You know, they burned down all the libraries. They was like, y'all ain't learning nothing else. And then they put together this story and then put out the Bible and, you know, went on the tear. Like, you don't believe in this, you're dead. Simple as that. You know, you're dead. So seeing that story of how Christianity came to be the most popular religion across the world, but then at the same time reading this book about the different religions over time, and just a side story, it's an interesting thing to know that there was a time where people actually believed that God was a woman. Like they found artifacts of a woman God that people used to leave on their front doorsteps, and the reason that they gave was because they didn't understand that having intercourse was how children were born. They just believed that women you just became pregnant and you created life. So obviously you guys are gods. So that was just a funny story that I found from that book. I was like, that's crazy, man. That there was, you know, a time before we even knew what we did as humans, where, you know, we still had a religion. And so, yeah, I think that was it. You know, when I read that book, it was like, it really opened my eyes to see, like, we don't have to believe this thing that was just forced upon us, basically. Like, we didn't have a choice growing up. We went to Christian church. Nothing else to think about. But, you know, opening my eyes and just being open to receive the other information from these different time zones, different types of people, and picking one with, like, the best story, like, that resonates with me. Like I said, you know, a lot of things in Christianity, it's like, I don't really agree with, you know, and if I follow a religion, if I were to, I would want to follow it to the T. I want to be the best that I can be, you know. It's this or nothing, or everything or nothing. So I'm not going to be one to like say I'm a Christian, but I don't follow everything in that book. You know what I'm saying? Because then what are you? Like, you making your own rules at that point, you know? And I think that's what a lot of us, you know, tend to do. It's like, you know, they say they're Christian, but they don't really follow that book to the T. So,
Right.
Do you feel like other people do that in other religions as well?
I feel like, yeah, I don't know much about them. Like, Christianity, that's a huge threshold. Like, no sin at all. Like, and you don't even know what could be a sin or what not. And like, that's a lot for a person, I think. And then as far as Buddhism goes, I don't know how sitting still all day is. You know, I don't know. No offense to them or anything. Like, I respect that, and I'm sure there's a lot of good in it. But I'm sure they do have people who are like, man, I only meditate 2 minutes. Buddha better be all right.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
one in every culture, pretty much.
Okay, so with these principles and the basic guidelines, the affirmations of Ma'at, let's say at some point, if you guys were to grow big enough, is there not also the potentiality of just as in the ancient days where the Kemetic people may or may not have viewed some of these deities as actual gods? Is it not possible that as you guys grow in your influence that it could become a religion as well? Because I know you mentioned earlier that you guys try to stay away from that word religion because of like the distaste that you have for it. But what is it that you guys have set or planned that will prevent y'all from basically taking that same route as other quote-unquote religions?
Yeah. So I don't want to say that, you know, we like detest religion or anything. It's just because, like, of the climate that we're in. You know, like, what religion is basically known for. Like, it can leave a bitter taste in somebody else's mouth. You know, who doesn't have that understanding. Like, if religion can be good, you know, it can be a good thing. It's just that we as I guess black people, we don't have our own today. We just don't. We don't have it. This Christianity, it was, well, modern day Christianity, because I know you said the Ethiopians have their own Christianity system, but modern day American Christianity, the King James Version Bible and all that stuff, was created by, you know, whites or Europeans. Like, it's not ours. So I forget what you said, because I'm like so into that idea. Like, these people really, they literally conjugated it up and gave it to us, and then we just accept it. So if we grow up and we turn into a new religion, that sounds like a scary thing, because I wouldn't want them to look at us as a religion. Like I said, I just want them to know the truth, the plain truth. This is what happened back then. Like, if you want to know what their belief system was back then, like, you got to do your own studying for that. Like, that's not up to us. We just want you to be a good person, you know. And these are some simple principles that you can follow. Like, there's churches out there that do actually study these type of things too. So if anything, I would think that we could be the link to that kind of church, to where they do have the religion in place.
Now, when you say church, are you talking about like a Christian church that you would be willing to work with them? Or when you say church, are you talking about a Kemetic system?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think they do follow the Kemetic. This is already a church that's in place. So it's called the Coptic Church. I'm so not familiar with them, but they meet at Zoom right now. You know, you can hop on. I think they do it on Wednesdays, but they teach a lot about, you know, the Bible. Right now, they were translating the Bible from Hebrew or Arabic to Aramaic to modern day English, to actually get the actual translations of what's going on. So, if anything, I think we would like link to some people who actually do that kind of thing. You know, the actual church, or people who study that thing. But us, that's not who we are, you know, per se, because we just want to educate people on the truth, and then they take it and go wherever they need to go, but holding those principles core, because those principles, I don't think anything could bad come from, you know, believing those things and acting upon those things. You know, So that's pretty much it. Just give it to them, and they take it and run with it.
Okay.
Gotcha. I was thinking about, all right, so the founding fathers of America, they established Christianity here because they believed like mankind needed something to like believe in. Because a lot of the founding fathers, they were deists. They just believed that there was a God, but he doesn't intervene, with the world. So, do you believe that there would need to be some kind of shared, if we're not going to say religion or spirituality or something amongst the people?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you see, people are diehard Christians.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine if they were diehard for, these African principles.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't be sleeping with nobody's wife, or you wouldn't be killing your own, you wouldn't be doing none of that. If your religion was actually at the forefront and you had held those principles tight, because you understood, like, if I do this stuff, it's a wrap for me. Mm-hmm. Just like how you believe, like, if I do something bad, I'm gonna go, downstairs afterwards.
Gotcha.
Which could also be, because there is, now that I say that, we have that right now, and people are still doing bad things.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even know if these principles would change their mind, or if they would still be like, man, bump all that. I'm gonna still do.
Yeah. Matter of fact, that leads me to my next question. Do you believe that ultimately it's people who are doing the bad things? Like, even if they follow, Islam, Christianity, or the laws of Ma'at, do you still think there's going to be outliers?
Absolutely. And I think that's just with human nature. It's up to the person to decide to be, a good or bad person. And there, of course, there's external forces. You can't help where you grew up, how you grew up, or anything like that. But there's other alternatives. Like therapy is a huge thing that's lacking in our community. Like, a lot of us literally need therapy. We don't even know it. We just walking around like this is just everyday normal thing. But with the right therapy, I think that will help guide us to like being a more, just society.
Do you think someone could possibly like abuse the laws of Ma'at? Like, just how some people claim, like, I can take your land because God said so. Do you think there's a possibility for that?
Not if they're really following the principles, because what kind of justice is that? You're saying you're taking something. Like, that's not justice at all. You're not following the principles. It's not true that God said that you this is your land.
Gotcha.
But then couldn't the same thing, like that same train of logic, be taken for like any other faith on earth? Because most people will try to make the declaration, well, all faiths, they teach the same thing, which is love, right? Yet you still have people inside these systems of belief that abuse it. So running that same train of logic, could they not still do the same thing using the affirmations of Ma'at?
They could, but again, it goes back to, who's the person? Who's saying this, and then who's allowing it? If the majority is like, that's not true. There's no way you're taking this from us, the majority. No matter what you believe, like this is what the collective believes in. You're not bigger than the collective.
So do you think it's fair, like if somebody did something and was just like, well, according to my principles, I can do this and that, do you think it's fair to say they don't actually represent, I don't want to call it your faith, but you know what I mean? Like,
I would think that is a fair judgment, because, you hold yourself accountable. Like, Christians, for example, thou shalt not kill, but the first thing y'all do is kill people. Your whole faith fall, like that's another thing that, made me fall away from the faith in the first place. Like, you say that you shall not, that's your first commandment, matter of fact, thou shalt not kill, but yet that was literally the first thing you did when your Christianity came out. So the same could be said for a person that chooses to, like, I guess, represent this faith, but then go against it. Like, you did that to yourself. You bound to catch smoke, for what you've done. You shouldn't be just let loose just because you have a belief. Right. That's something that we as a society, I think we need to, crack down on some more, and like really focus on those things instead of letting it just slide by. Like it's just another everyday thing.
Yeah, you could tell people like, hey, he don't actually represent what we're teaching you.
Right. And you can see that because this is what we represent.
Mm-hmm.
Is he doing this? No, then that's not what
Then it's fair to say like, well, then he's not actually following the 42 laws.
That's simple as that. Because like I said, like how could you use this for bad when it's all good things, it's all the truth, it's justice, living in harmony, having balance within yourself and in your life and being harmonious with nature, and then having order, which is like pretty much structure in your life, and then just righteousness, which can be pretty objective, but like you said, it's pretty innate in us. I think I don't know if it's bad to say that, but I think like innately we want to do good things, and that's what makes us human. If you're a person who wants to do bad things and like that's something that you enjoy with your life, I think it's something mental that you got going on, or you're simply like you're just not a human. I don't know if that's bad to say, but that's how I think about these things. Like humans usually, they want the best for everybody else.
So I want to agree with you, but I have to ask, do you have children?
One child.
Okay. When you have your second child and you see how your first acts with your second, I think that particular thought of we want to be good is probably gonna change very dramatically. So just like a wee bit of an invite. I have 6 children. I have 1 boy and I have 5 girls, right? And
yeah, he making them.
And while for the most part they love each other, they function cohesively with each other, there is no shortcoming of diabolical buffoonery that goes on amongst them. Like at some point the whole house can be quiet. Everybody could be in their own little spot doing their own little thing. And at some point, somebody is going to get tired of doing whatever they're doing. They're going to get bored with doing whatever they're doing. And they're going to go over and just snatch the other person's stuff for no reason whatsoever. Or they're going to go and they're just going to go and lay on them for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
Or somebody is just gonna punch somebody for no reason whatsoever. And so to kind of say like, and like on top of that, they also, you have to teach children to share. They don't innately just want to be like, oh yeah, this is mine, but you can have it.
Obviously, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So there is this train of belief, that this is a inkling of what it means to be born into sin. We have to be taught to be good. We have to be taught to be righteous. Now, you don't necessarily have to be a person of faith to do morally good things. You know what I'm saying? But at that same time, it's like you also, from the perspective of what I'm hearing with you guys, there is no objective standard. These are all subjective views. And it's like, yeah, it would be nice if we all did this, but because how it was explained of well, this is my personal standpoint on it, there's no objective standard to say that, hey, if I don't uphold these particular views, that there's no real consequence behind it. You get what I'm saying? So I'm listening, I'm taking in the information, and I'm kind of struggling with that particular aspect of it, because like it's like there's this notion that, like you said, you want to introduce truth to people, but then at that point you gotta ask, well, what is truth?
Exactly. That's what we do in the curriculum.
Okay.
Try and get people to understand, the actual concept of truth, because that's a deep question. It's not just what is truth. Oh, it's this. No, it's a lot of aspects of truth, like the objective truth, like just a moral truth. Like it's a lot. It's a very complex thing. So that's one of the things that we talk about and bring to the table for everybody to have a discussion and get that concept of truth. Which basically is what's relative to outside of you. Like I said, the sky is blue. We can both go outside and verify that. It's not just blue in my head. You see blue too, so that must be true. And going back to not having an objective, we can't because life has so many nuances. We can't control everything. All you can do is give the person what it is, and then, like I said, leave it up to them to decide what's good and what's bad, what's to keep from it, and what to throw away or whatever. It's not a religion where you get a consequence for not doing this. Like, no, bro. If you genuinely believe that if you follow these principles and be a good person, like it will be good for everybody and yourself, then you follow it. But if you feel like that you're doing this and it's nothing, there's no purpose, then you don't have to. It's live your life. Then we're not trying to force anybody or try and change the climate or anything like that per se, but just bring a different form of information to these people who have been subjugated to a religion that was not fabricated but put together from a more complex story than what was given to us.
Yeah, I had two questions. You kind of answered the first. I was going to ask, how would you get back to an objective truth? But from your perspective, are you saying that you believe everything's more subjective?
I think so, yeah. Because, we're complex creatures, like my brain don't think like your brain, so I don't know what makes us different in that way, but you can, like I said, you can believe anything that you want. The mind can believe whatever it wants and act upon that belief. Like there's no way to control that. For at least for me to another person, like, I can't control their mind. I can only present information to them and let their mind decide what to do with it. So that's pretty much it. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind, but put the information in there, and then let them decipher whatever they want from there.
My second question is, why do you believe that we have to teach children morals? Like you were talking about before, why don't they want to come out and just be the best for humanity? Because we haven't taught them anything, but they'll come out and they'll hit each other on top of the head. So it's like, why do you believe that we have to teach them right from wrong? And I guess, where does those ideas come from for you?
Who said it? One of the dictators said, if you want to ever control a nation, all you have to do is educate their children. Educate their children on how life is supposed to be, which is pretty much how we got to where we are today. We were put through, I don't know about you guys, but put through a public school system where they control what you teach or what they teach you. They control pretty much what you're eating, your schedule. They control all of that. And you're getting all this as a kid. You don't know nothing about the world, nothing at all. You're just a kid doing what you're told to do. So if we can control that and put the narrative in our hands and give it to our children, instead of feeding them that you were slaves, that's it. You guys didn't accomplish anything in life, to going to, oh yeah, you guys were the first people. We came to y'all for education. You guys built civilization. You guys have built the monuments that we stole and put in our front yard as our British Museum. That was y'all that did that. That at least to me, if I would have heard that as a kid, and learned that, I would think a lot higher of who we are as people, and then hold myself to that kind of standard. Like, I'm not just some slave, like some country bumpkin person. I'm from royalty. Like, these people built monuments and things. I'm supposed to be that and better because I'm the future. So that's why I think it's important for us to capture the kids, because they're the ones that's going to grow up and create the future. And then same thing for their kids. It's a generational thing. So I think we need to start counteracting where they interrupted us.
Okay.
Which is why.
I got a question. When you say y'all, like, are you talking specifically like the black people or Afro-Americans of like America, Central America, and South America that were brought over here during the transatlantic slave trade, or are you talking the entire black diaspora?
Exactly, the whole diaspora, because like you said, most of us came from Africa, but the difference of where we're at, is the boat stop. I don't know my specific history, my bloodline, where we came from, to say that, oh yeah, we're from this plantation or whatever, but we're Black Americans, so we all came from probably somewhere on the coast of what's the closest, like Morocco or something like that. We probably came from there.
I would say probably mostly West Africa.
The Ivory Coast, Ghana, Nigeria, and if you go back to like the 1440s, it was once called Negro Land, which
right
was
in the middle.
which was the home of the Black Hebrew Kings.
The most important people, by the way, like that's the people that according to that video that I saw, like that's where they took the most important people. But I'm talking about the whole diaspora because we were everywhere. We were everywhere before, the transatlantic slave trade, excuse me. So we were out there in Asia. They got Black Asians out there that's been out there. So I don't know what the climate is like for them, as Chinese Black people or whatever they're called. But at least for us, our history has been pretty much erased. We don't know nothing about our culture or anything. So of course I want to bring that across the diaspora, so we have like that global connection. Like even though we're not all of the same heritage per se, but if we had that like ultimate like Christianity religion, it's like these principles, you follow these principles, you get out of line, we got people waiting for you to help you get back in line. It's very beneficial of you to be part of this because of our network and our systems globally.
So I'm curious, how is that any different than like some of the pro-black groups that came before them, like
just read my mind.
The Pan-African movement with Marcus Garvey and what's the brother name, the Rastafarian, Selassie. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Or you had the Black Liberation movement, you had the Black Panther Party, you had the Moorish movement, you had the Black Hebrew Israelite movements from '67, you had like so many different pro-black unity groups. How are you guys essentially any different than that?
So hopefully we get as big as them, but our work is like it's solidified. And I think the strategy for that is just building it small, starting with a small community and getting that tight knit. That's what I'm saying. We gotta make sure this curriculum that we're putting together it's pristine. Like you can't touch it. Like it's so simple to grasp. Like it's a people thing. This is something for us. Hopefully we get to that level where we connect with everybody that we connect with, that they want to hold this thing together no matter what. I don't know what happened to these other parties. Of course the Black Panther Party, I know what happened with them, but why other organizations aren't making as much leeway. They probably are. It's just a lot of work that needs to be done. But
yeah, I know. Like there was an offshoot of the Black Muslims called the Nation of Gods and Earths. I know that they've been around a pretty long time, and I still tend to run into a couple of them every so often that teach stuff like the Supreme Mathematics and Supreme Alphabet and stuff like that, which basically has like the same principle guidelines as what you guys
and
are
I think what it is we got to make that popular, you know, like we got to make that something that you want to know as a Black person, you know. It's got to be the cool thing, you know, for everybody to get that same understanding of why it's important, you know, because without that, it's, you know, we follow whatever's on entertainment or, you know, short-minded things. We're not really
materialistic.
Yeah. That's simple stuff. We consumers, and you know, we don't take the time to I hate to say that we don't take the time. A lot of us don't take the time to actually look into things. You know, we might got other things going on, and you know, but hopefully the climate will change for us. And I believe if we all get on the same program, you know, the climate will change a lot quicker. But unfortunately, we're just not in that time, you know, for people to actually have the time to look into these serious issues. You know.
I understand.
Gotcha. How long have you been doing it for?
Wait, when you say doing it,
as in like I'm gonna mess the name up. Ma'at
Sankofa.
Sankofa.
So
how long has it been running?
3 years old.
Okay.
3 years old. Yeah. So pretty young, but yeah. Hopefully we build that tight knit community and build something that stands the test of time. For sure.
Well, my man, I definitely appreciate having you on. This has been a very informative conversation. Like, I've loved delving into your mind on this.
Oh, I appreciate that. This
Yes,
definitely been a good discussion. I enjoyed myself. I appreciate you guys having me here.
Most definitely.
Gotcha. Where can people find like information?
Ma'atSankofa.com, you know, MAATSANKOFA.com. Hit us up there. Me, Facebook, Derrian Burns. You can always hit me up. My grandmother, Brenda Allen. Facebook, got my number, and I'm very direct, and I love text messages or calls. Not text, calls. Calls are the best way to reach me. You know, I love to hear from everybody. I want to have these open discussions because it's something that, you know, we need. We don't need to keep quiet about it. And then, how you want to get involved? Let us know. You know, we got work that needs to be done. You know, funds that need to be raised and awareness that needs to be put out. So, you know, that's where we're at right now.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, it's been an awesome conversation, and we hope to have you again.
Oh, absolutely.
All right.